I have a daily build of the 20.04 LTS Alpha, and I have it installed in a virtual machine, so we're going to take a look at it today. Hey everyone, what's happening? And of course, we're going over the 20.04 LTS daily build today, and we're going to do a comparison with a previous version of Ubuntu. And when I say the previous version, it will be 19.10 E.1 Ermin is what I'm comparing the version numbers to, instead of 18.04 Bionic Beaver, which is the current LTS. They're going to be upgrading the 1910 release instead of the 18.04. So keep that in mind as I'm going through this. And it's not going to be like on your screen with the previous version. I am simply just going to state the version number. I went and installed 1910, updated it, and pulled the current kernel versions, etc. So we're going to be comparing the versions of the kernel, the bash, shell, GNOME, Firefox, Thunderbird, Nautilus, and LibreOffice. I mean, I could go through a whole lot more, but it's going to be a really, really long video if I do. But these are the common programs people use. So I figured these were a safe bet. I may add to the list as we continue, but this will not be the only daily build I look at. So this is just the first starting point. So keep it in mind that I'm comparing it to 1910. And without further ado, we're going to go ahead and jump to the desktop. Here we are on the desktop of the daily build, and so we're going to go ahead and start by checking the kernel version. So we're going to go ahead and pop open the terminal, and then we're going to do a uname. And of course, we're now using 5.3.0-24 generic, which is actually the same kernel that 19.04 currently uses. And so now we're going to check the bash and the GNOME version, and we're just going to do it the easy way and do a neo fetch. I should have probably done a neo fetch anyway, because this tells me the kernel version too. And the bash version is 5.0.11, and 19.10 uses bash 5.0.3. So this is a slightly newer version of bash for the shell. And the desktop environment is GNOME 3.34.1, which is the same as 19.10. So not much change except for the bash shell for Ubuntu Focal Fossa development. And so now we're going to go ahead and move on to the version of Firefox. And I would expect that this is version 71, which is what 1910 uses, because typically Firefox rolls forward in Ubuntu repositories as soon as they push a new version. So we're going to go ahead and bring this up. I'm going to go ahead and hit Alt, Tools, not Tools, Help, About Firefox. And yes, it's version 71, which is expected. And close this. And now we're going to go ahead to Thunderbird. And this should be the same version as well as the version in 19.10 as well. And it's taking a minute because it's on a virtual machine only running on one core, so it might take a second. And here we are. We'll just hit no right there. And we're going to go ahead and open up About Thunderbird. And we're going to go ahead and this is 63.3.0, 68.3.0. Actually, this is a newer version of Thunderbird because 19.10 used 68.2.2. So this is actually a newer version of Thunderbird. So we're going to go ahead and close out of that. And lastly, we're going to, well, actually not lastly, we're going to go ahead and bring up LibreOffice and Nautilus. Now, Nautilus is .3.4.1, which corresponds to the version of GNOME we're using, so that makes sense. And now LibreOffice will come up, and we'll check that version as well. And it's version 6.3.4.2. And that is actually a newer version of LibreOffice because 19.10 uses 6.3.3.2. So now, as you can see, it's mostly the same. It works the same. This is a minimal install, so you don't have a bunch of crap installed. But it basically looks like E.1 Ermin. And I would expect major changes to come when January rolls around. So there you have it. That was a brief look at the 20.04 daily build. Now, as you know, there was not that many changes to a lot of the major programs right now. There are slightly newer software, minor changes, but I expect some of the major changes like the kernel, etc., going to be changing starting in the first week of January. On January 1st is when their testing period starts. There was also another thing that I noticed, that the install screen had a little bit of a change as well. And I will put a screenshot of that on the screen. And that is about all I have for you today. If you liked that video, you can go ahead and give the video a thumbs up. If you didn't, well, that's what that thumbs down button is for. Go ahead and leave a comment in the section below. And if you are not subscribed, you can go ahead and hit that subscribe button. And I will see you in the next one. If you like my content and wish to support my work, you can do so on Patreon. The link is in the description. Also, if you wish to see more, check out the videos on your screen.